How's it going, everyone? I am Dylan. This is Braiden. We're back for another Own It, Play It, Skip It. This is a small box game.
Small box
edition of Own It, Play It, Skip It. And that means that all four of these games are
small boxes.
That's what they are. So we've got four games here. Two of them are kind of similar, or very similar. They're in the same line of games. I won't spoil it right now, but if you know what That's Pretty Clever is, and then So Clover. Wait. No. That's Pretty Clever.
Cut it.
And Doppelt So Clever. Whatever the
Down
second one.
Twice
as clever.
Twice as clever.
Twice
yes.
as clever.
Right.
Both those are in the same line, like different games, same kind of foundation. That's what will be happening with the last two games we're going to do here. So other than that, almost all the exact same size.
Pretty
boxes
close.
too.
Pretty close, which is nice.
Yeah, but the other ones are fairly different. One of them is a review. Two of them are review copies, I believe. Two of them aren't. And I'm going to throw it to Braiden first to kick it off with a different version of a game that used to be one of your favorites, and now it's been slipping.
It's been slipping because I've been playing it a bunch too. Because, I haven't been playing that version of it. Let's just get into it anyway. You probably, I think I had it over here. Just hiding it right here, just like right there. No, this is My City Roll and Build by Dr. Rainer Knizia. If you've played My City before, this is a roll and write version of My City through and through. Yep. You get the My City game experience in a small package. So in My City Roll and Build, you are rolling dice to tell you which area that or which building you're constructing. So similar to My City, where you were flipping over yellow cards, blue cards, red cards. In this case, you're rolling 3 dice. Two of them will tell you what shape you're going to be writing on your pad, and the other one's going to be telling you what color or what shade, basically. So there's different shades that you would roll. And it continues from there. It's got a legacy aspect to it throughout. You can go back, revisit episodes if you want. I think there's some really good replayability here.
Yep.
It's My City in a box, honestly. There's not much more to that, which is really nice. And actually, it impressed me how much it replicated the My City experience in such a tiny package.
I believe it's a shorter campaign too. Like the original one, I think was like 24 sessions or whatever, and this one's 12.
Yeah, it
so
is shorter.
It's basically halved, which it makes sense. Like as a roll and write version, as a small box version, I think to ask someone. I mean, it would have been. I'm not saying I wouldn't have liked having more content in there, but I feel like it makes sense for it to be smaller. I've played half the campaign. I'm currently in a campaign because this is on Board Game Arena. I'm in a campaign with Carlo, so I haven't finished it yet. But I'm now seeing sort of what you originally said to me and reiterate here, where it's like very much like they took My City and repackaged it as like here's that experience with like the same types of things you came to find in like uncovering the envelopes and everything, but now in this new edition.
This is a vacuum sealed, compacted My City in a box, which is great. Like if you want a portable legacy game that doesn't take up much room and you want to play it, this is a great option for that. Absolutely. Did
you because you've finished the campaign?
Finished the whole campaign.
You finished My City as well.
Correct.
So do you like this better than My City, or do you like the original better?
I definitely like the original better.
Okay.
I mean, it also probably is because the original was very new at the time, right? It's completely new. This, though, I have to give its credit, right? Like, you have that experience in this box, which I was very impressed by.
And you did also mention that it, like in terms of components, it's the best dice you've ever seen, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That is probably one of my knocks against this game is that the dice, they feel lighter than air almost. They almost float out of your hand as you roll them.
It's weird. I don't know. I'm sure my guess is always it must be a cost thing.
Absolutely.
On those things, but like it just surprises me when especially on a roll and write game. I just feel like when you're developing a roll and write game and the main components of most roll and write games involve dice. It's like that's the one area I would love to be like, hey, you don't have to make them like I don't need these dice to be made out of diamonds or anything.
Right.
That'd be great. But maybe wouldn't. I don't know. But there's just something to these that just doesn't feel satisfying.
For sure. I was definitely disappointed, but I mean, I think it's a small knock against the game.
Yeah.
This for me is going to be just a play because I own My City. Yeah. But this is a great, again, I keep going back. It has that same small progression of rules
Yeah.
each time out, right? And the score sheets do a really good job of telling you how you score as well, so you're not confusing looking back. It's all on your score sheet every time that you go to score. So yeah, really well executed, well thought out. And it's almost the exact same map, or like not the exact same map from my city, but it's got the rivers, it's got the mountains.
It's almost divided by the same shape.
For sure it is, absolutely. It's iconic. So
it would be a play for me too, based on halfway through the campaign. I'm not expecting that to change too much. My main question for you, and I can weigh in too, is if someone has already played the entirety of my city like you had, right? Is there, like, I went into this thinking, because I played and beat all of my city, I'm going to be way less interested in this. And the funny thing is I'm playing through it now, and yes, there's not, like, all the surprises aren't there, because everything that's being unveiled, I'm like, oh yeah, that was in my city. Oh yeah, so far. Like, that was in my city. So I don't have a surprise factor like I did with opening the envelopes the first time. But, like, without needing that, I'm actually still enjoying the full process. So I feel like if you, like, in my opinion, if you're someone who really loved my city, like, this is a way to sort of be like, it's changed enough that you can have a bit of a different experience. You just, as long as you're okay with, like, losing the aspect of, like, what's in the envelope.
Right. Yeah. It's my city adjacent. So it's like a slightly different take on my city. And the one main differentiator from this game to my city too is, of course, the dice, right? So in my city, you're flipping over cards and it's telling you what you're going to be building. In this case, it's dice. And the reason why this big change is important is because dice are more random, right? You might get the same building over and over again, where a deck, you're not going to have that. There's a chance of certain things coming up. With dice, you could not get a single color for the entire round. It would be pretty unlucky, but it could be possible. So you have to take that into consideration when you are making your decisions throughout. And I don't mind that, but I could see how it would annoy some people with that kind of random luck.
Yeah, it's a different type of, like, when me and Carlo were playing the original My City, there was a lot of times where it would be like, okay, there's 4 cards left in the deck. We know that these shapes haven't come up yet. And do I want to try to keep pressing my luck? And if I can't play other shapes, to try to get the one I need. That I liked that aspect of it. Sometimes you take the risk, sometimes you don't. In this game, that risk is still there, but it's very much, you might never see a shape. Like, I've played a full episode where we just didn't have a single square, or we had like one. And often I'm leaving, and I think that's me taken from the original My City, I'm leaving squares open, be like, okay, I'll eventually get the squares to fill them up. Sometimes they just never come up. And so it makes it, on one hand, that's nice to kind of have that strategy of, like, how do I adapt to the dice? How do I play the odds? But I do think I prefer knowing that there are certain ones that can come up, rather than it being like, there's a chance this never comes up, right?
And I'm glad that it's different, because I think if it was the same, it wouldn't be. Why make it?
Just
because it's smaller. Why, doctor?
Yeah, but I agree. A play.
Yeah, but a solid play for sure. One to check out, especially if you're a fan of the original My City, Roll and Build.
Sweet. All right. Next up, we've got this is a review copy from Pandasaurus Games, and it is a small box card game.
Small box. Small box.
District Noir. So District Noir, interesting game. It is. I don't even know how to. Where do I start with describing something?
It's got cards.
It's got cards.
It's a card
game. So there's going to be this row in the middle of the table that you're going to be adding cards to from your hand. So everyone's going to start with a hand of cards, and there's going to be this row. On your turn, you can do one of two things. You can either play a card to that collective public row that's in the center, or you can take the 5 cards starting from the rightmost card and counting 5 to the left.
Yeah.
You can only do that second action I just mentioned once in an entire round. And I think the game plays over 3 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. And so you can only do that once. You have to kind of pick and choose when it's most advantageous, because if I do that early, now you can kind of like have a better... you have better control over the board, even though I'm still playing cards to it, to be like, okay, when do I want to just say commit and say I'm going to take these 5?
Yeah.
And if you have cards in your hand, you're like, I know I can play these to be able to grab it for myself. So that whole aspect of trying to figure out when to take that really important action is fun. But then the other kind of push and pull of it is, I know what's in my hand. I don't know what's in your hand. Mm-hmm. And so even though I might look at my hand and say, okay, I'm going to want to take 5 when I can get a couple of these played, I guess I'm gonna have to explain what these cards are, because right now I'm realizing people are like, well, why would you want to take these cards? But like, I can look at my hand and say, this is what I want to grab. I don't know what you're gonna play. There's some cards that are just like straight up minus points. There's some cards that are straight up plus positive points. And so all of a sudden I play a card and you will see me play it and be like, okay, that's made that row really advantageous for Dylan. If I play a card that's good, he'll probably take it. So you might play a negative card now, because now that's going to decentivize me from taking it. So, and the goal of the game is there's basically cards that come in 5, 6, 7, and 8 for numbers on them, and then plus and negative cards. And you have to try to win the majority in each of those numbers, right? It's the majority, and then you're scoring based on that. So it's an interesting thing, because you can rarely win all the numbers.
Yeah.
So it's like, which ones am I going to, like, if I see my opponent grabbed like 3 8s off the top, it's okay for me to climb back those 8s. Do I give them 8s to hope that they take a row of 5 that I'm okay with, to try to give myself the other numbers to catch up, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of where the push and pull lies, right? And this is a 2-player only game as well.
Yes,
I'm not sure if you mentioned that or not, but and like very quick playing, and like figuring out those decisions of, if someone does go ahead very early, let's say at 8, well, you know you can dump those off early if you have no intention of taking what's on the board then from there, right? You can just it's not going to cost you more points. They're only going to get 8 points, no matter how many 8s they have at the end of the game. Yeah, which is really cool. And then there's also the city cards as well, which can win you the game.
One of my favorite things to be in 2-player games especially is the alternate win conditions, because as soon as you fall behind in a lot of these 2-player games, like I've had 2-player games where if you fall behind too early, or you feel like you're not doing well, it can just feel like we're kind of going through the motions and it's going to be hard for me to catch up. But I love in games like Splendor Duel, like in Seven Wonders Duel, where it's like, if you fall behind on one thing, you can start putting pressure on your opponent somewhere else to still feel like you have a chance. Sometimes you can still fully win. District Noir, having that with the city cards, it's not quite as I like it, and the last time we played, you beat me with the city victory, but it's not quite as easy to achieve, at least in the games I played so far. I think I've played this about 6 times, 7 times now. It's a little bit harder to achieve that victory than it is to, say, get the science victory in Seven Wonders Duel, or in Splendor Duel. Like, it feels like all the 3 types of victories are all in play all the time. The city cards sometimes just don't come up at the right time. Sometimes they do, but like they fall behind in like the row of 5 cards, and then people aren't going to grab them again. So it's a good way to put pressure on, and I love the aspect of it where if there's still city cards that I know exist somewhere and I don't have them in my hand, if I might be scared that if I take the next 5 cards, that you're all of a sudden going to place like the city cards in your hand and be like free to take them.
Take 2 and then you're on your way, right?
So it kind of keeps you in check that way. I do like that. I almost just wish I wish there was like that alternate win condition felt like a stronger possibility throughout, but maybe that would have detracted a bit from the main way to win the game too. So.
For sure. And I think every game, I haven't played this enough to really say, but I have a feeling that every game is going to be pretty close, just because of that mechanic of taking the majority only scores you that many points. So if you got the majority of 5s, you're getting just 5 points. So you have to really you want to spread out, which is not going to give you that majority, right? So it's going to be a close game if you're keeping track of the city cards and everything like that on the way too, which is great.
Yeah, I will say, so this will be a play for me. I will say that when I my first 2 games of this, I would say, I left with a really strong impression. I think they did some unique things. I liked it has that mechanic I love in hand manager type games where it's like sometimes you just don't want to take a turn. You're just like, oh my God, I want this card, but if I play this, is that going to be enough for him to take the 5 cards? So I play a negative card first, but if I do, then when I play the card I want, I might have to grab that negative card. So like always wanting to not play a card. I left with a way stronger impression after those first 2. I've cooled on it the more I've played, but I don't feel like it's going to just keep going down. I feel like my cooling off has stopped now, and it's just going to be a solid 2-player game that I'll bring out here and there, but it's not going to be one where I'm like, oh man, like you guys got to see this game. Like, not in the way like that Splendor Duel kind of resonated with me, or Seven Wonders Duel, or any of those.
Yeah, this is just a nice, easy to get to the table, not a lot of rules overhead towards everything. Quick playing, kind of filler 2-player game. Simply put. Which is nice. And I'm a big fan of the theme. The art looks amazing too.
Yeah, and anytime
really nice production.
Anytime a 2-player card game does something unique, I think that with how many 2-player games there are, that's still like that's a I was looking for the word that complements the game.
Yeah.
Because it's not always easy to do. A lot of times it's like, yeah, this game's good, but it's a bunch of things I've seen other games do. I'm not saying this is like wholly unique. We haven't played a lot of 2-player games out there, but I just left the first time as I played it thinking, oh, that's cool. Like I've never seen it quite done in this way with hand management and taking the 5 and like
from the center.
alternate win condition stuff. So yeah, solid game. I definitely, if you don't have a lot of 2-player games in your collection, you're looking for something different, unique, and inexpensive, I would say definitely give it a shot, because it also might be for us. We have so many games we're playing, so many 2-player games. If you only have a couple games in your collection, this might resonate a lot more with you, and it might hit the table a lot more. And I could see playing this multiple times, it might get kind of competitive.
I was gonna say I could see this being like, I'm like in my family, my parents played cribbage all the time. It's a day in, day out, just like who's doing the dishes kind of thing. This could be your like
who's doing the dishes
that's
game.
Right, yeah, District Noir.
That's the next thing. We just coined mumble games if you haven't heard. The next one's going to be the who's doing the dishes.
Yeah,
game.
that's right. Yeah.
The game you throw down when you need to decide who's going to do household work.
Yeah.
So that's District Noir, a play for me. Have you played it enough to make a verdict yet? Or
I don't think so. I think I mean, as it stands for me, it would be a play, but. If I played it more to see who did the dishes, of course, then I'll figure it out.
All right, sounds good.
And I just realized that all of these games are on BGA that we're reviewing today.
They are. All the games are on BGA, so you can leave here, or even while you're watching the video, you could boot up BGA and play it while you're listening to it.
That's right. So. Because our next games
are... Let's put them both in here, because this is a joint thing we're going to cover.
I showed mine already.
Oh. So this is the Next Station, London and Tokyo.
Hold on, we'll edit it again. Okay, let's ready?
Okay. Yeah. The next games we're going to look at are Next Station. That would have been pretty impressive if they hit perfectly.
No, you need to just edit it so that they go together.
The next games we're going to look at are Next Station. Close enough.
Okay. This is Next Station London and Next Station Tokyo. They are, I guess Next Station Tokyo is the sequel?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I don't think they came out at the same time.
Nope.
This is a flip and write game where you are basically recreating the subway or underground stations of each city in the box. So you get these 4 colored pencils, different colors for each game, I think, right?
Or are they? No, I think it's the same colors.
Oh, it's the same colors.
Yeah.
Just different on BGA, I think.
Yeah.
So you... Oh, and it's the stations that you started, I think. Anyway, you are flipping over these cards that show you a symbol, and on your pad that you have there, you have different stations all around on your map that you are connecting to from your current station. So you'll start off at a blue station if you're using the blue pencil, pink if at pink, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
And you'll be connecting to other stations, and you'll get certain bonus points depending on the edition that you're looking at. There'll be certain other criteria if you play with the bonus objectives that they have, as well as there are certain pencil powers on top of that.
Pencil powers.
Yeah. It's good. That's good. We love alliteration here.
It seems like a minor thing, but I really appreciate the idea that there's 4 colored pencils, each one corresponds to a different starting station, and we all are going to start with a different color. And if there's less than 4 players, there's always 2 players, there's 2 pencils that aren't being used, and they rotate out and in as well. But I like that, because and a lot of times, even again, like my city, I remember playing that with Carlo, where sometimes, because you're both responding to the same card that flips over, we would go a couple of turns with playing them in the same spots, because you each kind of be like, this makes the most sense with this strategy. I like that, because everyone's starting at a different station, everyone always has something different going. It never feels like, it makes everyone went to the same triangle because it made sense. Everyone went to the same square because it made the most sense. Because we're all starting at a different station. When you get to using that same color, your board now looks different than
very
it
much
did,
so.
Right? So I like that, even though it's, again, seems like a small thing. I just like the way that plays out. So there is a 3rd game coming out in this series. There's Next Station Paris, I believe, coming out is the next one. But I do like how that the DNA of the games is the same, which is in terms of the base scoring, it's always whichever zone you have the most stations that you've connected in times the amount of zones you went to. That's the same in both games, but The map's different. Like
the way the zones are laid out
the
is
zones
different.
are broken are different. London has the river that you're trying to cross. Tokyo has little squares in the corner that create their own separate zones
Right.
as well as I think Tokyo also has. I think it's the tourist stamps or whatever they call it, where in the outer areas you want to try to connect stations that have multiple like colors going through them or whatever to get bonus points. So they each kind of take that foundation and do it something else with it. So when you know how to play one, you're really going to the next one, not having to like learn the full rules. You're just like, okay, what does this game do differently?
Yeah.
But I was super impressed with these games. Like, I think I got to the point with like flip and right, roll and right games where we played so many. There's always so many coming out that it's hard to like. It gets to the point where you stop getting excited for them. And you're like, yeah, okay, I've done this before. Or like, yeah, this is the same as this. Even though a lot of the stuff that's in these games is not completely unique, I just found that we've played, I think, Next Station London now, according to my tracking app. I think I've played it like 11 times or something like that now, or something. And I'm still hooked on trying to like maximize my score, and every game I'm finding that it gets a little bit different still. And because of the order things come out, I don't feel like I'm even close to being like, oh, I've had the perfect game and now I don't feel like I want to come back to it. I was like surprised in a good way by these games.
Yeah, same. I tried these solo first, Next Station London specifically.
Yeah.
And I was also surprised by just the decisions making, whether you're going on to one district, how long are you going to make your first line? Because you can't, any line that you make with these subways, connecting lines, like you can't cross with another line.
That's the most challenging thing.
Yeah, so like, are you going to section off this side of the map? Are you going to leave it open? How is that going to benefit your score when certain things come up, right? So each of this deck of cards has two versions of each symbol.
Yeah.
So, and as soon as I think it's the pink cards for London, and then the green cards for Tokyo, once all of those of that symbol, or all of each symbol of that color are drawn, the round ends. So you're never really too sure until that last card gets drawn when it's going to end. You might not see some of the other cards come up too. So that's going to affect how things work as well.
It has that like push your luck element thing where if you get to the point where you're like only one more of the pink cards or the green cards needs to get drawn, but there's a bunch of other ones and you look at the deck, you're like, what are the chances I can make it a couple more turns to try to connect this? And sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. So I like that because it does, just any game that has a bit of that push your luck risk element it's luck in a good way. You can kind of look at the odds. You can say, how much do I want to risk? Am I ahead by enough that I don't need to risk? Am I behind by enough that I do need to take the risk? I like that element in these games. I will say that the colored pencil crayons is what I would have preferred my city roll and build to have done.
Oh yeah.
Where like instead of it being the
different like shades,
like
fully colored in, or
I would have much rather. And again, it's probably a cost thing too. But I just think like it makes. I've only played the physical version solo of Tokyo, but I think in general, just it looks way nicer when you have the colors all over the board, right? And online, BJ, it looks great too. So, yeah, so I will say, actually, before we can get into like own it, play it, skip it, which of these two? I know we've played London a lot more, but even just based on what you've played of Tokyo. Do you have a preference? Do you think you're going to end up having a preference? I like one more?
Yeah. I think I like London more,
okay,
just because it's a little bit more straightforward for me. I'm still wrapping my brain around Tokyo a little bit, I think. I think there's something that I'm missing about it, to be honest. And London certainly feels like the base game, and Tokyo to me feels like just like a slight twist. Maybe just like a 0.25 of complexity, maybe even a little bit less than that added to it.
I agree. London's my preferred, but it's not like a huge gap with Tokyo. It's just that Tokyo does add complexity to it that I think makes it less accessible, and not less accessible maybe if you've played London.
Right.
But if I was bringing someone over, teaching them for the first time, even though the base stuff I'm teaching the same, there's aspects of Tokyo that's going to take me a little bit more to get them to wrap their head around than London, which is, it's easier to just say, when you cross the river, you get these bonus points or whatever. And then with Tokyo, having to say, okay, like there's linking these stations and stuff. So,
and you can travel along, like,
the green track. Yeah, so Tokyo has a green track in the middle. It's already built into the board. So it's like kind of like a fifth color, but it's already there and you can interact with that as well. And that one, you can't cross either, but you have to go through the stations to get to the center. So it is just a little bit more complex. So I'd prefer London as well. London
Yeah.
a own it, play, or skip it for you?
Oh, this one was tough. I'm definitely teetering. I'm going to say it's an own for me because I like how quick playing it is.
Yep.
You can just bust it out, 1 to 4 players total.
Yep.
And, you know, my wife really likes Welcome To. This would be another great supplement, I think, to Welcome To, even a little bit more strategic. It looks so cool. They did a great job designing like the feel of what it looks like after you've got it all kind of laid out and everything. You can see where things went wrong. And then Tokyo, I think, would be a play for me right now.
Yep.
Just because of just that added, I don't mind the added complexity. I think getting to play it more, like if I played London more and I started to kind of wane on that, I could just turn over to Tokyo and be like, oh, this does the exact same, but like just it is different enough in the way it scores.
Yeah,
it's really nice. It's a nice little touch.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. It's an own. I wasn't quite as on the fence. I was pretty clear cut for me for own just because it surprised me a lot. I'm after a roll and write game for me to play it 11 times, and I'm just like I will boot up a game any time.
Yeah.
That's a big compliment after how many I've played, I think. But yeah, I'm also a play on Tokyo, but I could see this going up to an own as well. But if I was like recommending for someone watching, I would definitely say like look to London first, and then go to Tokyo. Unless you're someone that you're like, I want to go to the more complex one. I want to have all the added like elements of strategy. But like I just feel like after playing both, it makes sense to start.
Yes, it's a really good place to start, and this still has good complexity to it. You're still agonizing over decisions, looking at like where am I going to draw this over here? Like, okay, I can cross here, but like it's going to be in the same district, so is it going to count me points too? Making those decisions much like Welcome To, where you're making decisions about where to place your numbers, which numbers to choose. In this case, just knowing which potential symbols are potentially going to be coming out, and you know that, okay, the wild pink one is definitely going to be coming out at some point, so I'm going to use that over here, so I'm going to move. It's, really, really good start. And then, if you end up loving London, dive headfirst into Tokyo, no brains.
And then we'll see what Next Station Paris does. I'm on board now. I'm on board.
You're on board.
Trains. Yeah, there you go.
All you can board.
All you can board. That's a double pun there.
Double pun. Double pun.
So Paris is the next one, but I would love to see a Next Station Lisbon. I'm just saying. I'm just saying selfishly. There's not enough Portugal games out there, even though there's so many Portugal games out there. It's nice when you find a new title or a new niche where you can kind of just be like, now we can just add a new city and we can make as many as we want. It's like the Ticket to Ride expansion where it's like we can have as many maps as people eat it up if the base game is good enough. So I love it. I'm very curious to see where they keep taking it, how many times they expand it, but very, very impressed. And inexpensive and on BJ if you want to check it out. That is Next Station London and Next Station Tokyo. That is it. That's our small box edition. So just to recap, I guess we can bring it back on here. So just to recap, for me, I had District Noir as a play, Next Station Tokyo as a play, Next Station London as an own, and My City Roll and Build as a play as well.
And that's the same for me.
We completely aligned here. That's and
a rarity.
No skips. No
skips today.
Not this time. Next episode will be all skips.
The small boxes are easy to keep in your collection, right?
No skips this episode. But let us know in the comments if you've played any of these, if you agree with our verdicts, or you have any other thoughts, and if there's any other games you want to see us cover in On a Play It, Skip It, especially if you know that we've already talked about the games and you've seen them like in the background of our shots and you're really curious, let us know because we're always looking for what games to cover.
Also, if you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe. Hit subscribe, man. Join us in the Discord as well. We'd love to hear from you. It's one thing I love about YouTube is building a community here and hearing from you. So please
hit that subscribe, smash that subscribe button. Some joke that me and Carla did a while ago where every time we were ending a video, we felt like we were doing the like cliche classic, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell or whatever.
Smash the bell.
Smash the bell, ding the like button.